You're watching the KGP Pregame Show, live from the KGP Studios in downtown Cambridge, Ohio. Your source for the latest local sports highlights, interviews, and information. Brought to you by And now, let's go live to the guys in the studio.
Hello and welcome to the KGP Studios here in beautiful downtown Cambridge, Ohio for this week's edition of the KGP Pregame Show. I'm merely Tom Strasser, and once again truly blessed to be joined by my teammates and my partners in crime, Hammering Heath Dawson and D-Train Darren McCullough. And as you know out there, we are truly blessed, speaking on behalf of my posse and I, to bring you the pregame show as well as live stream so many games as we are able to do at Caleb Graham Productions. And we do this because not only do we love sports, but we love to shine the spotlight on our student athletes who bring so much joy and entertainment to our community. And while we have that opportunity to interact with these kids, we are reminded just truly how much we are blessed with all the great kids that we have the opportunity to cover. And this week it is with a heavy heart that we do this show, because one of those great kids that I mentioned, we tragically lost this week. And our community has been rocked with the tragic passing of Cambridge sophomore Matthew Binkowitz. Matthew, known as Bink by so many of his friends and coaches, my son, who had the privilege to be one of his basketball coaches, was loved and adored and was a blessing to so many lives that he came in contact with. You know, I was once told, if you could go in your daily life and make people that you come in contact with, make their day just a little bit better than it already was, I was told that's not talent, that is a gift, a true gift. And that's what Bink had. So on behalf of the Caleb Graham production family, we would like to send our condolences to the Binkowitz family, the family, friends, teammates, classmates, coaches, the Bobcat community, and everyone watching this show today whose lives were made just a little bit better because of Bink. You are in our thoughts and you are in our prayers. And may God bless you and comfort you during this tough time. We'll be back with more of the KGP pregame show after this timeout. Welcome back to the KGP pregame show. Merely Tom Strasser, Heath Dawson, D-Train joining us once again tonight. And as always, we want to give a special shout out to our sponsors who help make this broadcast possible. That's Buffalo Wild Wings, Conn's, Muskingum Valley Health Centers, John Valentine Insurance Agency, Simple Windows and Doors, and Basic Systems. When you visit these establishments, please be sure to give them a special thank you for sponsoring the KGP pregame show. So, fellas, we're going to start out in Byesville with the still undefeated Meadowbrook Colts, who run their record now to 5-0. And D-Train, I'm going to throw a curveball and start with you here. Now, Meadowbrook, a big win at, New Lex. Then they come home senior night. They take out Coshocton, going to Morgan, and you could think maybe a possible letdown. Well, let's give Coach Clendenning and his coaching staff and the senior captains a lot of credit. I don't think there was any letdown.
No, there was no letdown. They score in the opening possession, then kick an onside kick and recover, and they're up 14-0 before Morgan gets the ball on offense. Immediately, I think they knocked them out in the first 2-3 minutes of the game right there. Just they imposed their will, 320 yards rushing as a team with 3 touchdowns. The trip to and from Morgan took longer than the game did itself for them.
No, and Heath, a touchdown for Meadowbrook right out of the gate and a onside kick. Who's seen that coming?
Right.
I mean, you love the aggressiveness of Meadowbrook, and they do that. And when they blood, they go for it. Now, we talked about the 320 yards rushing, and a big part of that from the senior quarterback.
Yeah, Davis, once again, Davis Singleton, only 7 carries. And boy, did he make good with those 7 carries. 173 yards, 24.7 yards per carry. So for those of you that had him in fantasy this week, you're licking your chops. But yeah, 3 touchdowns on the ground as well. You look at Lacey, 73 yards in a TD. Swartz had a TD. When Meadowbrook's running the football like that, it's hard to beat them, because it opens up the pass for them, which obviously we know they're deadly with the passing game as well. So, but when Davis is running like that, I mean, their offense is just clicking. And from what I've seen on camera and live, I don't know who's going to stop that offense right now.
Yeah, and D-Train, coaches always like to talk about explosive plays, having plays of more than 10 yards. And when you're averaging nearly 25 yards a carry, I would say Meadowbrook had plenty of explosive plays.
Yeah, and as a team, you're averaging over 10 yards a carry, so you're basically saying those 31 carries were all big plays pretty much. I mean, it was a men amongst boys there, really, Friday night. Meadowbrook proved that they were the superior team, and they've got to continue to have that type of mentality that we're better than this team, and we're going to go out and prove it.
And I'm really impressed with the focus. You can see this team, they want to finish the season undefeated. They want the MVL title in their first inaugural season in the MVL. And Heath, Davis Singleton, we talked about only 7 carries, but when you run the ball 31 times as a team for 320, as you pointed out, you don't need to pass the ball as much as Meadowbrook does some, but when they passed, they were still effective.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Davis did, again, on limited throws. I mean, we're used to seeing him throw a lot more, but he only threw the ball 12 times the other night, but he completed 7 of those, 153 yards. So, again, very effective there. And then when you look at Hupp come in the game, for those of you that can remember, Josh Hupp was a starter there for a few games, but he came in and threw a touchdown as well. So nice to see him get in the game and be in the mix. And, he's a capable backup there. So, I mean, when again, going back to when Meadowbrook's doing well on the ground, it's hard. We saw Coshocton when Train and I covered that game. It was almost pick your poison. Are you going to stop the run or are you going to stop their pass? Because I haven't seen one team be able to do either or. So right now, Meadowbrook's clicking on all cylinders.
And while Meadowbrook's offense continues to explode, 498 yards total offense. We talked about explosive plays offensively. That wasn't the only group that had explosive plays. Let's look at the defensive side.
Yeah, on the defensive side, Eric McCullough, Rhett Dyer, and Brady McManaway, they spent a lot of time in that backfield of Morgan, shutting them down. I think 3 sacks combined between them. Pettit, who we talked about the running back for Morgan, we came in, talked about he was going to be probably a big factor for him. He was pretty ineffective. I don't think he even had 20 yards rushing. But the one thing that Morgan did do a pretty good job at is their quick, short passing game, those little short routes. They were able to hit that little 5-yard ounce or a little dump off into the flats that got their offense moving a little bit. But then Meadowbrook started making the adjustments. They got the pick 6 from Jerome. They came up and made some big hits on those passes that were little dump offs. Made life definitely tough for the Raiders.
And it was a rough weekend for the Raiders all around, but we won't talk about Sunday. But Heath, Train talks about, the 3 sacks. That's misleading because this youngster for Morgan, he was running for his life. It was impressive, 16 of 27 for 100 yards. He didn't have a lot of time to throw the football, but Train talked about the running game, and Morgan's had some success running, but 18 carries minus 12 yards. Now, if you want to pull out the calculator, don't waste it. That is minus 0.67 yards a carry. So that's negative yards rushing for Morgan, 88 yards total offense. It was a bear of a night for the young Raiders.
Yeah, and when you look at the Raiders, it's not taking anything away from Morgan. We don't want to make them feel lesser than. But as you said, it was a mix among boys. When Meadowbrook's playing like that, I'd venture to say that might have been their best game of the season, honestly. I know that a lot of people were expecting to win, but you still got to go perform. With Meadowbrook jumping out 20-0 early, as Train says, they went down there, they meant business, the onside kick, but they're up 20-0 and then 34-0 at a half. They went down there with a chip on their shoulder, and like I said, I feel like that was their best game of the season, in my opinion. Coming off the Coshocton game, they weren't getting that push as much. And I think that Coach Denning and his staff probably preached, get to the runner, get to the quarterback, get through the gaps. It looks like that they did that this week. So good job to that defensive front and the linebackers. So good defensive performance, not just the offense. No, we praise offense because it's the stats we like to hear, but that defense down in Meadowbrook is also pretty darn good.
Yeah, another shutout in Morgan. We talked about a tough night, but hey, everybody eventually, they get that running clock. Steubenville had one this year against them.
Right, which who would have ever thought that?
So that don't happen, but no. Morgan, give them credit. They played all 4 quarters and kept battling, but that 34-0 lead at halftime, that's tough to overcome. And Train with Coach Clendening, his biggest gripe through this undefeated streak has been some of the penalties, or sometimes maybe lack of focus when things get out of hand like that. Yep. How were things there this week?
I didn't really see much penalties. Of course, I wasn't able to attend and watch a video, which will say it's not to the KGP standards, we'll say. But
you're getting a raise this week. He's getting a raise, folks.
From what I saw, there really wasn't a whole bunch of penalties on Meadowbrook, except when they hit big plays for touchdowns. Then there was penalties.
But I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to defend their live streaming. We all know if difficult. You have internet difficulties, your live stream is only as good as your internet
And good luck
service.
With getting in service in McConnellsville.
Exactly.
You get on 78 anytime, you know what service is like going through that.
Yeah, so we, watching that, we definitely felt their pain because we've been doing this enough. We know what that's like. And, people watching the games, they want the perfect live stream, but you're only as good as the internet service that you can get. So remember that as you watch our future live stream events, which we have some coming up we'll touch on later. But defensively, Jonah McCall, wow, has he really stepped up? He had 5 tackles and then the 61-yard punt return for a touchdown. He has really burst onto the scene as another playmaker. And if he gets his hands on the football offensively or defensively, he's got a chance to go to the house. We talk about going to the house, a touchdown, 2 catches, 97 yards, including one for 73.
Yeah, you look at what he's done. He's kind of been the utility guy all over the place for him. the game Train and I did against Coshocton. He had the huge interception in the end zone to pretty much seal that victory. So, I mean, when Meadowbrook's looked for a big play, they've got different guys along the offensive front or defensive front. But, yeah, when you look around, you got Lacey that can go anytime. Jerome can go. Todd can go anytime. Hunter Eubanks. But Jonah is kind of settling into that role of when they're looking for a big play, it seems like he's the guy that's been stepping up and making the big plays. So, Jonah's having a great season this year.
And Train, you've touched on it throughout this season. When you look at Jerome Todd and the way the game he had, early, especially against John Glenn, then now people say, hey, we're going to try to, cover him, have someone over the top. And then I believe it was Brady McManaway and then Eubanks who were getting open and having good games. And now it's McCall, and then holy smokes, if you tried to guard everyone, leave Davis Singleton a crease to run. Right. And I don't know what you do to cover this Meadowbrook squad. And they're back on the road this week against West End.
Illegal participation. Yeah. Too many men on the field. Yeah. That's the only way you can cover them. So
too many athletes on the field.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they're going against West Muskingum, and they've had the motto Business Trip 2020. Mm-hmm. They got to continue with that Business Trip 2020. Mm-hmm. West End obviously not having a great year, 0-5 on the year. They've already opted out of the playoffs. But the big thing is for West End people, stay patient. They've got a coach that I think knows a little bit about football. He's former assistant at Zanesville High School. So obviously Zanesville's always been a pretty premier football team. So they're going to get things figured out. I mean, it may take a year or two, but expect West End to be pretty good. Their key player, Harley Hopkins, is their starting quarterback. He had 2 touchdown passes against Coshocton in a 36-16 loss last week. 5-yarder to Landon Murray and a 74-yarder to Jacob Epling. So they have big play potential when they can hit it. So you can't. I mean, you say, yeah, we're 5-0, they're 0-5, but you can't look into it as how this is going to be an easy win. You still got to come in, you still got to play 48 minutes of football.
Yeah, now, Heath, this is the week that the coaches, they know how many teams are in their region, and now you start seeding, voting on that. Now, October the 1st this week, the brackets come out, you find out who you play in week 7, or possibly if you have a bye in week 7. Mm-hmm. So Meadowbrook, when they take the field Friday night, how hard will that be to focus on West Muskingum when the playoff brackets have already come out?
I think Meadowbrook has a lot to play for, just like Train says. They want to be undefeated. So I don't think they're going to worry about week 7 because they've got week 6 to worry about. Bumped into Coach Eubanks at the Cracker Barrel on Sunday, and we talked a little bit about the team and stuff. And we just talked about them getting refocused going into last week's game after some things that happened in the Coshocton game. I don't expect Meadowbrook to lose sight of anything that's going on beyond this Friday night. They're still playing, that small school title. They want that. They want the undefeated season. So I don't really expect them to get caught looking ahead. If I know their staff and talking to Coach Eubanks on Sunday. So it was a good conversation, by the way, Coach. But, I think Meadowbrook take care of business.
Yeah, and we would like to give all the coaches out there a special warning from KGP. If you're out eating at a restaurant, there's a good chance Dawson may be bumping into you.
Listen, Donnie Kearns drives down my road, and we have mailbox conversations sometimes. So, hey, if I'm out and about, that's where I was out on assignment, by the way. I was going to restaurants there a few weeks back getting some inside scoop. But, yeah, we'll talk to you.
And watch, Heath probably will try stiffing you with the bill, too.
Oh,
so
100%.
Be careful with that.
On the same side, so I couldn't do it. He's been a good husband, sitting on his wife's same side as his wife, or I might have tried to slip it under his table napkin there. So,
and we would like everyone to know when the brackets are released and we get them. Check with KGP TV, Caleb Graham Productions, and he will get that out to who our local teams are facing in week 7. So. Congratulations to Meadowbrook on their big victory last week over the Morgan Raiders, and they travel down to West End. It ought to be a lot of fun and opportunity to move to 6-0.
And don't look now, but the Colts are number 13 now in the Division IV AP pool, so another big win, and they might be able to crack that top 10.
Yep.
Yeah, but it will be interesting to see where they're seated, because now, you're looking at scores, and it is literally style points, not computers. So, they're racking up the numbers. They're shutting out people. It'll be interesting if they can get one of the top seeds, if maybe you get a week 7 bye, and then you have that decision. Right. Do we take the bye, or do we pick up a game? It'll be a lot of fun.
You might like this one, Tommy. Maybe they should go back and watch some old Dr. Tom Osborne games with the Nebraska Cornhuskers back in the 80s when they used to score style points. So, you're right, though. That is what they're looking for at this time of the season is, you don't get to see everybody. So some of those scores will be things they looked at. But I think Meadowbrook will seed and be seated where they deserve to be.
So congratulations to Coach Clendenning and the Colts, your 2020 MVL champions. So congratulations to them. And once again, we want to thank our sponsors, Basic Systems, Simple Windows and Doors, John Valentine Insurance Agency, Muskingum Valley Health Centers, Conn's, and Buffalo Wild Wings for sponsoring the KGP pregame show. That's Meadowbrook. When we come back, we'll look out at Old Washington and the Buckeye Trail Warriors and look back at their game with East Canton and look ahead to their game that we will have on KGP TV this Friday night. The Newcomerstown Trojans invade Old Washington. So we'll talk Buckeye Trail Warriors when we come back after this timeout. Welcome back to the KGP studios here in beautiful downtown Cambridge, Ohio for this week's edition of the KGP pregame show. I'm merely Tom Strasser, hammering Heath Dawson, D-Train Darren McCullough. And tell you what, fellas, now it's time to look at the Buckeye Trail Warriors. The Warriors that were coming off a big win at home over Strasburg, 50-14, big win on the scoreboard. Come to find out, it was a big loss to the team as their playmaker went down. So as they traveled to East Canton, they were without a big cog of their team.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you lose like Franco Rome, when you were saying it, Tommy, talking, I went, and it just made me think that's probably about how all Buckeye Trail Nation felt, the wind just going out of their sails. But yeah, when you lose any kind of offensive weapon like Franco, he's, you hear people say a generational talent. There's been a lot of good talent out of the trail, so I don't know if we can call him generational, but he's certainly a talent. And we're hearing that he might be able to come back towards the end of the year. We're hoping so. So that's a big loss for Trail going into that game.
Yeah, and, here's a kid that's against Strasburg, had ran for over 200 yards in the first half. In fact, going into the second half of that game, he was 80 yards from the all-time school record for most rushing yards in a game and was probably well on his way to getting that in the third quarter and then shutting it down. But he goes down with an ankle injury. And like I said, Franco was a big blow to him. And the one thing that's, he's a positive kid, and he said, "Hey, I'm a junior, and I'm thankful for that."
Right.
That if he doesn't get back by the end of the football season, he has basketball season. He should be good to go for that, and then another year on the gridiron.
You hate to see that. Cambridge dealt a blow with Mobilini, so it's like, some of our area teams are dealing with some injuries. We don't like to see that, but I know Coach Kearns, no matter what happened Friday night, he would never use that as an excuse and would still go out there and play. So, best wishes to Franco and his family and his healing.
Yeah, and it was just a a tough night when they go to East Canton. Now, Train, you're having to adjust your offense without your number one playmaker. And I had a chance to talk to Coach Kearns this week, and he said, they were just out of sync, throughout the game. The kids played hard, and they really battled. But, you could just tell it was a big adjustment for them. And he basically told me, Tom, anything that could go wrong, it did Friday night in Canton.
Yeah, when you can rely on a kid like Franco Rome to touch the ball 20, 30, upwards to maybe even 40 times a game, it takes a lot of pressure off everybody else. Now you're trying to figure out who's going to be that guy who can take some of that weight off of him and carry even 10 times or 15 times. Obviously, Connor Prescarage kind of stepped up a little bit, had 109 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and threw a touchdown pass, but they threw the ball 23 times. That's not what Coach Kearns wants to do. He doesn't want to throw the ball 23 times in a season. Exactly.
Yeah, that's not the recipe Coach Kearns likes. You're right.
And Heath, when you look at losing Franco Rome, D-Train talked about what he does with the ball in his hands. I want to talk about what he does when he doesn't have the ball, the impact that he has. I like to use the old basketball analogy. You have players on the basketball court that when they're out there and they have the ball, it's amazing how wide open their teammates are.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody's collapsing on them. Then when that special player graduates, all of a sudden the kids who had wide open shots, all of a sudden they're not open anymore.
Right.
And it's kind of like with Franco. When everybody was geared to stop him, and when he was out there, if you faked the ball, people were going his way, and it opened things up. And that was an adjustment Trail had to make. And, fellas, I'm not making excuses for Trail. Coach Kearns with potential, COVID outbreak and virus and stuff going on, Trail, and I understand and support what he did, he elected for the kids to ride with their parents to the game and not on the bus, which is, which is different. And he just thought, he just thought that just made him out of sync from the get-go, even though, the good intentions, and I applaud him for, putting, looking at their health first instead of the game. But he thought that impacted them at the beginning as well.
Sure, but when it changes things for them. But when you look at what Trail was able to do against the 8-ball, they come out and only are down 16-14 at the half. So you got to give Coach Kearns and his staff credit because they could have went in there and just rolled over for East Canton. We'll get to their coach in a second, but when you look at what Trail was able to do up against that 8-ball, not riding, anytime. Listen, we're all creatures of habit. Especially coaches. Coaches are some of the most superstitious guys on the planet. But, so when you roll in there and you're already without Franco, and not only does that change Trail, but let's also talk about how that changes East Canton. Now that you're not gearing up, that one guy in practice isn't playing Franco all week, so it really changes your game plan for Trail. So, it just changed everything, the whole dynamics of the football game. But, I was impressed that they were able to go up there and go into that second half only down 16-14 against all odds, and I bet Coach Kearns would probably say that they didn't play their best half yet. So, I was pretty impressed to go up there and still come out of the box swinging. So,
and Train without Franco running the ball, Shane Smith, I give him for gutting it out during the game. He was limited and really couldn't carry the football, so that really put the onus on their senior quarterback, Connor Prescarage, and over 100 yards rushing. Yep. But, you get hit as much as he does, and then you have to pass 23 times. Yeah. He was very sore and bruised up after the game.
Yeah, no doubt. When you're kind of forced to put in a situation you're not used to, you haven't taken that many hits. He obviously was limping probably Monday morning when you saw him at school. But I know he talked about Shane Smith being a breakout player this year. Well,
man.
Buckeye
And
Trail,
he has been. Yes.
But Buckeye Trail has another one that we've kind of started talking about, and that's
right.
wide receiver Nick Newhart's
Right.
kind of proven that he's kind of that little receiver go-to weapon for him in the passing game with 5 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. So Nasty Nick Newhart, his new nickname, starting to make his presence known in Old Washington.
Right.
And Trail Heath, 3 turnovers, 2 of them late. But
Right.
in their defense, when you've got to drive 85 yards in the waning minutes, and you don't have any timeouts, and you've got to go the distance, and they know you're passing, you have to take shots downfield.
Oh, yeah,
You can't, nickel and dime it. And credit East Canton. They guarded the deep pass, the Newhart and others,
Right.
and they made some plays on the football to seal the win.
Right, and you guys already mentioned this, the dead horse, but when you look at Trail and when you dissect the Trail box score, you know what you're looking for. You're looking for to see if they had 56 carries and 300 yards. I mean, that's that. But when you look at 23 passing attempts, you know something went wrong. And then you start looking farther down, and you looked at Trail had to punt 7 times. Trail doesn't punt the football often because, let's face it, they usually only have the ball 7 times a game. So to punt 7 times is an anomaly. And then you look at a big stat. The stat that told the tale of the tape for me, that for Buckeye Trail, I don't think I can remember this since Coach Kearns has been down there. They were 0 of 8 on 3rd downs. That usually doesn't happen. So that tells you that Trail was a little bit outside of its element the other night. But again, that's a credit to the East Canton coaching staff. You look at their staff, as Coach Kearns told you, Tommy, that they were well coached. We all know Spider Miller. That's only Spider Miller. That is a name that only an Arkansas mother would be proud of. So sounds like a guy that you might have met in the back alley in Arkansas at a honky tonk somewhere. Spider Miller. Well coached, and he has a good resume. Comes from Canton McKinley. So you knew that they were going up there. We were already going to face a buttoned up team. So
Yeah, Coach Kearns has a lot of respect for Coach Miller, and like I said, if you were a head coach at Canton McKinley, that's a pretty good resume. And you come in to East Canton with some clout, and this, I believe, is his 5th year there, and he's doing some things to get East Canton turned around.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Canton McKinley's kind of on that Mount Rushmore of high school football programs in Ohio. I mean, you talk about them and the alliances. You're talking about some historic schools. I think Mount McKinley, Canton McKinley has the most wins in Ohio high school football history. So there's a lot of prestige and pedigree there from that school. So
hey, maybe
there's a lot of knowledge there.
Maybe a Coach Spider Miller is on Mount McKinley.
He might be.
Their Rushmore of
Right,
coaches, so to speak. But congratulations to the Hornets of East Canton. They played well. Time of possession won that. The first down battles and stuff. The turnover battle as well. And the Hornets got a big win for them at home. And now Buckeye Trail closes out the 6-game regular season at home against Newcomerstown. Fellas, Coach Kearns coming in now. It's the 2nd week without Franco, and Shane Smith hopefully will be able to gut it out again, even though he's nowhere near 100%. And Coach Kearns feels better this week after seeing how things go. He said they are going to look to simplify things. They're going to do less, but try to do that better, what they're doing. And yes, you'll be happy to know, he said, we're going to look to get that running game going, look to see Logan Hinkle, the fullback who really runs hard, Aiden Snodgrass, the tight end, expect him back in the backfield as well. And we don't know what all Coach Kearns has up his sleeve, but he says they're going to look to run the game, which leads us to Friday night at Old Washington against Newcomerstown. That may, I think safely to say, may be the quickest game played this year in 2020. And why is that?
Well, you're going to see both teams run the football. It's going to be the Woody Hayes philosophy, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Newcomers go to line up with a double tight wishbone formation.
Wishbone.
They want to eliminate. So if they have one possession the whole first quarter, that's what they want to do because they want to run the clock. Their offensive line's strong. They fire off the ball quickly, look to hit you, look to make the contact and push you back. And back to you said a Snodgrass kid at moving to the backfield. That sounds familiar. There was an older brother of his, I believe, that was a good halfback not too long ago for the Warriors.
Absolutely, yeah. Austin Snodgrass, yeah. So if Aiden gets to touch it, his brother gives him a few pointers. It could be interesting and look to get, Newhart and Tyler Dodd as well as Bates and them and even Austin Payton chances as well. So we'll look to see. It ought to be a lot of fun. That will be on KGP TV. And once again, I'll be joined by the Hall of Famer, Woody Biggs. Good Lord willing, for the game between the Trojans and the Warriors out at Buckeye Trail. So be sure to not attend the game to join us on KGP TV. And Heath, as we wrap up this with the Trojans, he talked about, their wishbone, that they've had success moving the football and their offensive line. Coach Kern said they stick out on tape. The way they fire off the ball. Newcomerstown, they've had success moving the ball. Malvern, who was undefeated, they lost, I think, by 5-2. We're down 27 or 21 points, came back. What's been Newcomerstown's problem?
Yeah, I mean, Newcomerstown opened the season with a win, and then they've lost 4 straight, including last week's 28-10 loss to Strasburg. Their issue hasn't been moving the ball, Tommy. As you said, they've got a good offensive line. Their problems comes down to special teams mistakes. When you're a team that's younger and struggling to try to get things going, and Newcomerstown's not built to win 35 to 34 shootout type of games, but when you have those special teams mistakes, it puts you behind the 8 ball, and they're just not a team that's geared for or suited for big comebacks. So if Newcomerstown can eliminate some of those special teams mistakes that they've had this season, I mean, they were right there, as you said, Malvern. They're right in ball games. So if they can do that, I think they could give Trail all they want.
Yeah, and last year, the Warriors, their victory over Newcomerstown, Trail had to make the most of every possession. Trail only got 6 possessions the entire game. So with Newcomerstown, they're going to look with the wishbone, and Trail will have to work on. That's a different offense. The only one they will see this year, I believe. And see who can control the line of scrimmage. That'll be a big telltale sign of who will come out of the Bill Baker Activity Complex with a victory. And Buckeye Trail, in their region, they had 26 teams in their region. One that had opted in, opted out. So there's 25 teams in their region. So Trail will be playing Week 7, and we'll know October the 1st who that will be and get that information to you. So that wraps up our segment with the Buckeye Trail Warriors. And again, we want to thank our fine sponsors, Buffalo Wild Wings, Conn, John Valentine Insurance Agency, Muskingum Valley Health Centers, Simple Windows and Doors, and Basic Systems. And a special thanks to our main man and producer tonight, producing the show, Carson Todd, behind the scenes. We got our 3 mugs on camera. It don't... By far the best looking one here, and he's behind the camera. Life isn't fair, Carson. It isn't fair. Wraps up the Warriors, and when we come back, we'll shift our attention to the Cambridge Bobcats. They were playing their 3rd team this season that was state ranked. Bel Air came to Cambridge, and what a performance by Coach Ray Leake's Bobcat squad. We're excited to talk about that when we come back here on the KGP pregame show after this timeout. Welcome back to the KGP pregame show. We talked about Meadowbrook, we talked about Buckeye Trail, and now it's time to talk about the Cambridge Bobcats, who were involved in the game of the week and one of the game of the season, as well last week as the state-ranked and undefeated Bel Air Big Red came in to McFarland Stadium, and they ran into a Bobcat squad that was excited and ready to battle. And Heath, did the Bobcats battle or what?
Oh, man. What I like about it is how they come out of the gates. 14-0 lead early after the first quarter. They pretty much showed to Bel Air that we mean business and we're not going to roll over for you just because you're rolling in here state ranked. And did Cambridge maybe have a little bit of bitter taste from last year on their mouth? Who knows? I'm probably sure that was something they talked about at 3 overtime loss last year. But man, I saw, the way Cambridge were able to come out and set the tone early. I thought that was key.
Yeah, and Train, we talked about last year's game. Cambridge lost in double overtime by a point, I believe. Was it 2 or 3 overtime? It was 3 overtimes. Don't want to shortchange them. And we talked about last year the Cats were winless, and even in that loss, we thought that jump started their season to a winning record. This game right here, getting a victory over a state-ranked team, their season was already rolling pretty good. Could this victory not take it to another level?
Oh, it definitely has to be a big confidence boost. You're talking Bel Air was number 7 in the state in Division 5. And being able to, like you said, get that revenge game against them. And he talked about how they got off to the good start, but it wasn't as good a start as people would think. Their first possession, third play of the game, they threw the interception, but credit their defense. They Brumfield forced a fumble and recovered by Brock Valentine, so they immediately got it back, which shows just the heart and determination of their team. Like, okay, we made a mistake, let's go get it back. So that was a huge possession to kind of wash that interception away, and then they just took off after that.
Yeah, and that was a little swing pass, option pass Whaley through. It was a nice looking pass, but Bel Air didn't bite on the play. But you're right, getting the turnover back, that was really huge. And then when the offense came back out there, they got 2 touchdowns on the board pretty quick.
Yeah, real quick. And, when you look at the main cog of that, it's been quarterback Caden Moore this year. Has just stepped in as a sophomore. We've praised him all season long, and it seems like as the season goes on, he just gets better and better and better. I mean, when you're talking, you're in your 5th career start of and you're only a sophomore, and you're knocking off a 7th ranked team like Bel Air. I mean, Bel Air is storied and tradition down there along the river. To me, Caden Moore, just the way he showed moxie and poise this year, he's been, more than advertised when he stepped in on the field this year. So I feel like, Caden, once they get the ball back in his hands and he gets going, he just makes things happen. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of his playmakers and stuff that he used. But Caden really made Bel Air pay on a number of times on Friday night.
And Heath, I want to stay with you for just one second. Playing the 7th ranked team in the state, there's adversity. But talk about the adversity going into the game. Remember during our Warrior segment, we talked about the Warriors having to adjust things without Franco Rome. The Bobcats had to make an adjustment because one of their big cogs was going to be missing.
Stud Logan Mobilini was out with an injury, and I talked to his dad this week, and I'd like to give him a shout out. He sent a message to me. He said, "Hey, thanks to you guys for the prayers for Logan. He's good. No break on his shoulder, but he has to sit this week." And breaking news, he will be back this week for Carrollton. So that was from his dad. So we're excited that Logan will be back this coming week. But yeah, they were behind the 8 ball, but Caden picked up some of the slack on the ground. He had 15 carries, 73 yards, and a touchdown. But, it wasn't just the ground game. I mean, Cambridge proved that, we don't just need to run the football, we can also pass it. Caden, 18 of 27, 152 yards, a touchdown. Bartlett, another game, a big game, 5 for catches for 66 yards. And Caden Kenworthy, it seems like we just keep talking about Mr. Caden. 7 catches for 48 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, Caden and the offense, credit to Coach Leak and his staff. Just like Coach Kearns, they were without their playmaker and had to make some adjustments. But, Coach Leak and them, not only do they have to make some adjustments, but they got to make some adjustments against Belair. And, they called the right shots and the right numbers. So hats off to that
It's
staff.
a balanced attack. I mean,
Right.
when you don't know whether it's going to be a run or pass,
Right.
and what I've seen in the bit of film I've seen on Cambridge, it seems like Caden Moore's more decisive now that he's more comfortable in this offense.
Yep.
Like he immediately makes that read, and if he doesn't see anything, he's taking off. Early against Indian Creek, you would see he would just kind of hang back there, and then off. But now he's making his decisions quicker, whether he has to get it out quick or whether he's taking it off or they're handing it off to a running back. So the decision making, you can see the progressions he's going through. He's making them quicker. And
He reminds me of one other sophomore quarterback you and I covered, Train, way back in the I'll go out to Buckeye Trail, a guy by the name of Brock Davis. Remember? It reminds me similar of Brock's start to his career. Here was a great athlete, all grown up, and he kind of had some rough going early, but then he kind of hit a stride mid-season. His decisions.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the way his career started in a lot of ways.
The big thing, confidence with the kid. You
Right,
give a kid confidence, he's going to excel.
Right.
And right now, I don't think there's not too many people that have the confidence of Caden Moore.
No, especially after that win.
Yeah.
And Train, I love you mentioning Caden Moore and the way he has really, mastered this offense this quickly. Because you're right. You watch him. He takes the snap from shotgun and he's moving, and then it's an instant pass or he keeps it. And he's getting it out with Mobilini absent and Train. When we go to our next timeout, we'll try to guess which restaurant Heath ran into to Dad Mobilini at, okay? But his ability to get the ball out quick and his guys on the perimeter are making plays. And fellas, I don't know if you had the opportunity to see the catch that Bartlett made. It was unbelievable and maybe the best catch I've seen so far during the unbelievable adjustment he made on the bomb from Caden Moore in the first half was something special.
Kind of reminiscent of going back to last year with Mr. McGilton down in Caldwell. Remember in week 1 when Trail, he makes that big catch down there. So, yeah, I mean, Bartlett is a big kid. He's an athlete. He's a strong kid. So, I mean, last year it seemed like we mentioned his name, whether it be offensive or defensive, every week. And he just making plays again this year for Cambridge. So, yeah, it was a great play.
And big-time players make big-time plays.
Exactly right. And he's a big-time player.
Absolutely. And Heath, when you look at the stats, without Mobilini, especially the way he's churned it up on the ground, Kenworthy and Brumfield, they were able to keep Bel Air honest and do just enough production that really helped Cambridge sustain drives.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got guys like Brumfield and Owen Feldner and Brock Valentine, Bartlett, I mean, their defense, we knew coming into this season that we knew what Cambridge's defense was going to be. We knew that it was going to basically play off of itself of last year because they had a lot of guys back on defense. So we figured that was going to be the case. And boy, did they not step up in a big way on. They needed that. And then also, you look at their special teams, not only let's not talk about their defense, but what about their special teams? Roman Jeffrey with that big 65-yard punt for a touchdown. And then on the other side of the football, I love, I don't know why I love the guy, but Andrew Philippes, 4 of 4 on PATs. And he had a 27-yard field goal. So you go to that, the defense was great, the special teams was great, the offense, I mean, just a great performance by Cambridge and its staff.
Yeah, and, community, very excited over this win and what they're seeing from Coach Leak's offense. And Train, when you look at this Bobcat squad, last year the defense, really carried them until the offense, baby steps and get going. But how sweet is it for Cambridge, for the offense to say now, hey, defense, hold them to about 20 points, and we'll take care of the rest. The way Cambridge is scoring in their offense, take the New Philly game away, even though they moved the football against New Philly. New Philly, the team, I believe, that had the running clock on Steubenville. So they showed what they are.
Yeah, Philly's good.
The offense that Cambridge has exploded on this year, first year under the system, to me, that's been maybe, definitely one of the big stories of this season.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, when you go into the game, Cambridge had a lead, and all of a sudden you look up and it's 24-20 after Jake Hetherington had thrown a 10-yard touchdown to Jace Gallagher for Belair. So you go into that final quarter and you're thinking, but there, Cambridge puts a drive together, more to Kenworthy for a 12-yard touchdown toss to pretty much seal the deal. I know there was still 10 minutes to go, but I mean, I'm not so sure last year, when you look at early in the season, if Cambridge could have answered a big drive the way they did in this game. So to me, it shows the maturation of Cambridge's offense over the last basically probably 6 to 10 games that we've seen.
That's a huge credit to their coaching staff. I mean, everybody can say, they went through everybody had the COVID restrictions, but Coach Leak wasn't hired till June.
That's right.
So he's even behind the 8 ball than everybody else. For them to be able to look at week 5, 3-2, all of a sudden their quarterback's really picking up the offense and understanding what he needs to do, his responsibilities within it. They got the weapons on the outside. Mobilini's going to be back, so that's going to now improve their running game even more when Kenworthy and Whaley's kind of stepped up in the backfield the past 2 weeks. So, I mean, they're just kind of slowly expanding that playbook a little bit more, expanding their knowledge, and getting more and more dangerous every week.
And that's a perfect time because with playoffs coming, I mean, they're gelling, just starting to gel and peak at the right time.
Yeah, and for Bel Air, their first loss, I'm glad you mentioned Hetherington. Wow.
Yeah,
he is special quarterback, and what a quality win there. And Bel Air, their first loss, they're going to be okay, but Cambridge getting that win, again, we talked about being seeded this week. We'll see if Meadowbrook has a chance to get a bye. Cambridge, with that win against Bel Air in the schedule they've played, it'll be interesting to see where they're seeded and who their opponent is in week 7. And again, October the 1st, we will get that information out as soon as it breaks to you who the Bobcats will play. But before we get to week 7, let's look to week 6, a game against the Warriors of Carrollton. Train, what do you know about Carrollton?
Carrollton's coming into the game 3-2 on the year. They're averaging about 30 points a game, giving up about 23, so they've been into a lot of close contests. Their big weapons, Luke Warner, their starting quarterback, he has 7 touchdowns. That was coming into last week's game, passing. The one thing Cambridge has to look at with him is in short yardage situations, expect him to keep it because he has these rushes, but he doesn't have a very high yards per carry average. So when they get down in the red zone and down inside the 5, expect him to pound it through. Their running back, I scribbled his name and can't read the last name, and I don't know how to say it.
That's Olstrom. Chase Olstrom, yes.
Chase Olstrom.
That guy's covered. We're teammates.
Yeah.
We're teammates.
Yeah, there you go. Way to have my back. 497 yards rushing. Talon Timberlake. I don't think any relation to Justin.
I don't know if he's bringing football back.
Yeah, 283 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. So they've got some weapons that Cambridge is going to have to be ready for.
And don't forget Nick Martin, the other wide receiver opposite of him. He had 7 catches last week for 82 yards, so he's another weapon on the outside that they'll have to keep an eye on.
And hey, that was a 390-foot drive to the gap that Train wasn't going to get to, but you were there to run it down. Way to be there for the save, Heath. And the tie the Bel Air game and Carrollton in. When you look to wrap things up with Bel Air, I wanted to mention that was big. Remember the week before when Cambridge played Lima Central Catholic? Cambridge got down 2 scores, and they lose 56-41. Cambridge spent the entire game chasing points. They were chasing. How big was it against Bel Air? Cambridge wasn't chasing points. They got the 2-score lead and made Bel Air play from behind the entire game, something Bel Air wasn't used to doing going in.
No, they've had the lead all season. So, when you look at what Cambridge has been able to do, no game. They come out of the gates early and then made Shenandoah chase points. Same thing this last week. They made Bel Air chase points. We talked about last week how the Cambridge-Lima game could have been much different without the way it started and the turnovers. Cambridge's offense is good, and when you look at their wins, now you can sit and say they beat Creek, they've beat Bel Air, they beat Shenandoah. I mean, Cambridge is starting to put quite a little resume together, and losing to New Philly is nothing to sneeze at this year, because New Philly is probably one of the best teams, if not in our district, maybe the entire region. So, I mean, Cambridge has got quite the resume this year, and you're right. When they're able to come out and make other teams chase them, this is a different Cambridge team this year, and I wouldn't want to be on the opposing sidelines trying to figure out how to chase points against Cambridge. So, that's a good point.
And I tell you what, it's exciting even more. We want all the teams to have that big magical playoff run, but if we don't crown the state champion in Guernsey County, we have week 10 to get Cambridge and Meadowbrook back together. That'd be a lot of fun, but that's way down the road. And fellas, I will say, as we wrap up this segment with Cambridge, it would be very easy to be concerned about a letdown after a big win, and Carrollton coming in. That's a team that Cambridge is going to have to play well to beat. You would be concerned with the letdown, but fellas, Mr. Mobilini didn't play last week.
Right.
He's playing this week. Do you think that cat is going to allow a letdown this week?
No, I've told his dad, if there's one family I don't want to meet in the dark alley, it's the Mobilini. So if Logan...
But he will at a restaurant. I'll
talk to anybody at a restaurant, especially if they pick up my bill. But anyways, and Coach Leak, we've been praising you an awful lot. You might be needing to take these guys out to lunch some afternoon. But no, I think with Logan coming back, and honestly, you already mentioned in our opening segment, Tom, I think Cambridge will have a lot to play for even beside, because they're going to be playing for the memory of an athlete there. So I think Friday night is going to be special for Cambridge. And honestly, I think they're going to come out of the gate swinging, and I think they're going to put out an even more impressive performance than what we saw this last Friday. I just had that feeling.
Yeah, and Heath, that's a nice segue to close this. Again, with Cambridge, Coach Leak was scheduled to be here, to talk about, because we wanted him to talk about Bel Air with the tragic events this week that hit the Bobcat community, with Matthew Binkowitz losing his life. And again, for the Bobcat country, our thoughts and prayers are, with everyone there. And Coach Leak was looking forward to coming up here, but he said, hey, I need to stay and be with the athletes. And he was exactly where he needs to be. And again, it's a tough time for Cambridge. This is, fun and games and stuff. When life gets in the way, it's tough. So we know it's going to be tough. In the Bobcats, they'll be playing, with a heavy heart Friday night for sure against Carrollton, and man, it's tough for the entire community. And again, our thoughts and prayers for everyone out there. So that wraps up our Cambridge Bobcat segment. Again, we want to thank Buffalo Wild Wings, Conn's, Muskingum Valley Health Centers, John Valentine Insurance Agency, Simple Windows and Doors, and Basic Systems for sponsoring our broadcast, and of course, best in the business, Carson Todd, be producing the show as well. And we'll take our last time out, and we'll hand out some awards from week 5 of the high school football season. We've got a lot of nominees, and we'll see who gets our John Valentine Insurance Agency Defensive Player of the Week and our Buffalo Wild Wings KGP Player of the Week. still to come here on the KGP pregame show. Welcome back to the KG pregame show. Tom Strasser, Heath Dawson, and D-Train Darren McCullough. And it's time for our final segment this week where we give out the awards. And our first award will be the John Valentine Insurance Agency Defensive Player of the Week. And Heath, again, a lot of people to consider. Who are we going with?
I mean, when you look around the area, I mean, Cambridge shutting down a big Belair team and beating them. You know, you had Owen Feldner, 7 tackles, tackle for loss. Brock Valentine, 6.5, a sack, a tackle for loss. So they had big games, and you know, in that huge upset win over 7th-ranked Belair. Trail out at East Canton, you know, they had several guys perform. But when you look over at Meadowbrook, it's hard to ignore what they did, going down to Morgan and shutting out the host school 54-0. Jerome Todd had 4 tackles and a big pick 6 in that game. And then Jonah McCall, who, as we said earlier, it just seems like the guy's making plays every week. He had 5 tackles, and he also had a huge punt return for a touchdown. So we're going to go with Co this week down at Meadowbrook between those two fellows.
All right. And again, Morgan held a negative 12 yards rushing, 88 yards total offense. And again, Meadowbrook's defense, another donut for the Colts. I believe that's their favorite meal so far this season. So once again, we want to congratulate Jerome Todd and Jonah McCall of the Meadowbrook Colts for being this week's John Valentine Insurance Agency Co-Defensive Player of the Week. And now, it's now time to award the Buffalo Wild Wings KGP Player of the Week. And Train, like Heath, we had some other outstanding individual performances.
We had definitely some tough competition. Caden Kenworthy, 7 catches, 48 yards, runs for another 36 and a touchdown. Nick Duhart, 5 catches, 80 yards and a touchdown. Connor Puscarriage with 109 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns and a touchdown pass. Davis Singleton had 173 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, 153 yards passing and a touchdown. But we had to give it to the guy who pulled off a big-time upset over the state-ranked Bel Air Big Reds, Caden Moore, for the 2nd straight week. 152 yards passing and a touchdown, 73 yards rushing and a touchdown. So, Caden, I'm warning you right now, you and your family stop at B-Dubs. Be careful, because Heath's probably waiting there, sitting at the front, waiting to see if he can get a piece of that $25 gift certificate pie.
Hey, listen, man, I'll eat with them if they invite me, so invite me and I'll show up.
But the sophomore wins it back-to-back weeks, and like I said, not so much for the stats, even though they were there directing a win over state-ranked Bel Air, plus having to do it without else in the backfield right next to you. Mobilini, who, breaking news again, remember, will be back Friday night.
Breaking news like Shefty over here.
There you go. So congratulations, the Caden Moore are this week's Buffalo Wild Wings KGP Player of the Week. So fellas, that wraps it up. And once again, we love doing this. This week, tough, very tough. Yep. So again, prayers for everyone out there involved, which is basically everybody. So everybody hang in there and hug each other, prayers, and we'll try to keep going. So week 6, and then it's playoffs are coming. So we want to wish Buckeye Trail good luck at home against Newcomerstown. That game will be on KGP TV. Meadowbrook travels to Zanesville, just outside of Zanesville on 70. West, where they'll take on, speaking of West, the Tornadoes of West Muskingum, and then Cambridge will travel down to Carrollton. Not an easy bus ride, and to take on the Carrollton Warriors. Good luck to the Warriors, Colts, and Bobcats. And we'll see who is playing who in the playoffs this week as well. So I'm merely Tom Strasser. And for my partners in crime, I want to thank you for joining us here on the KGP pregame show. And please take care of yourself.
You stay classy, Guernsey County.
You can count on me meeting you in the press box.
On behalf of the KGP family, God bless you, and we will see you next week for the playoffs. Good night, everyone.